Hi everyone, my name is Jamie from Willow Farms. We are a cut flower farm going into our second year of growing and selling at local markets. And this video is just going to be about a few things that I learned in our first year that I think would be helpful to anybody who's starting out. So for reference, we're from Ottawa, Ontario, which is a zone 5, and we grow on about like 2 acres. It's a 4-acre farm, but we only use 2 acres for the flowers, and we'll actually be moving this season, so it'll be a big year for us. But my first tip or piece of advice is to just stick to the basics. I found that super helpful. Every time I was overwhelmed in terms of picking which seeds to grow, like irrigation or weeding and the plastic mulch and all those things, I found just sticking to the basics was really helpful, and it was a good reminder. So a lot of things I kind of just went in with that lens. So when I was placing my seed order, I added everything I thought I would want and then went back in and kind of just stuck to what either I had grown before and I had experience growing, or what I thought was a cheaper seed and would be more profitable and something that was easier to grow. And then in terms of irrigation or like a greenhouse, I think it's really easy to get caught up and think that you need those to get started, and I think it's unfortunate because it stops a lot of people from getting into it. So I watered everything by hand. Certain parts I didn't even have access to a hose, and you kind of just figure it out. And then I had rabbit issues, so we ended up doing raised beds super last minute, and you kind of just adapt. But my goal for the first year was just to break even, and I think that was a really healthy goal, and really helped me be able to dictate what and prioritize what was worth my time and my resources and what wasn't. So yeah, keep that in mind. Second was a piece of advice I believe I got from someone on YouTube. I think it was, you can't eat the grass, said it, and it was just that plants are going to grow. I was kind of obsessive over being proactive and staying on top of everything, like bugs or watering or like even in the germination stage. And honestly, if you put stuff in soil, something will grow. So yeah, don't be too proactive, because once you're messing with it too much, that creates a whole other host of problems. That being said, certain crops are going to grow and do really well, and certain crops just won't. I think I had probably 3 crops this year that I just didn't work for me. My dahlias didn't work. My asters were pretty short. So it wasn't, not everything was perfect, but realistically, I stuck to my stuff that did grow, which I'll put in another video called like the 5 flowers or whatever you should grow in your first year, or like must grow flowers. And honestly, those crops got me through. So not everything has to work, not everything will, but don't sweat it. A third hard lesson for me to learn was that people aren't always going to want to buy what I like. So I like all white bouquets, and I like dahlias, some more different flowers. I like really odd things, or things that I haven't grown before, and a lot of times people at the markets just wanted the basic flowers they were used to. So like a step above something that they would have in their garden all the time, like lilacs and stuff like that. But really the top seller was just orange sunflowers. An example I have of that, I actually spoke to another flower farmer in the area, and we were chatting about how much we love the Pro Cut White Light or White Night sunflowers, and how people would come to our table, look at them, think they're super pretty, and then they just wouldn't buy them. They would go for the orange ones, what they're comfortable with, what they know. And then I also did a poll on Instagram to see if people wanted all white bouquets or like super colorful bouquets, and realistically, the super colorful ones sold out all the time, and the white ones were always the last one to go. And then also that translates into like color combos. So I would never ever ever be I don't know the right word, but like I wouldn't lean towards red ones, red flowers and yellow flowers. and especially like putting them together. But honestly, that was the best color combo that sold all the time, was yellow and red put together. So all that to say, when you go to markets, when you're placing your seed orders, I do find it's helpful to have somebody else look through it and see what they would like. And that kind of, if they're kind of like a third party, it kind of gives you some insight. And then also pay attention to what people at markets are buying versus what you want to do. At the end of the day, you're only going to keep doing it if you're having fun. So I still do grow what I want to grow. But yeah, keep an eye on what people are buying at markets, not necessarily just what they say. My fourth piece of advice is to keep in mind that other flower farmers in the area are really helpful, and it's good to have those connections. So right now flower farming is just booming. Everybody's getting into it. We have a bunch of people in our area doing it, and I think it's kind of natural or easy to start off thinking that everyone's competition, and it is still daunting when I go to markets and I see that other people are selling flowers. Chances are we're in the same zone, we're going to be selling pretty similar products, but the demand is there that everybody can do well. I've been to markets where I've sold out and other people have sold out, and so just that brings me to another point of like, stick to your product. It's really easy to be influenced by what other people are doing and switching, but honestly the best thing I did this year was stick to my brand and the idea I had for my business, and that way our companies can be different. But having relationships with other farmers was honestly a saving grace this year. We had a tulip farm down the street, and I waited too long to commit to the idea of growing and selling for the public, so I didn't plant any tulips last fall. And so come Mother's Day, I was gonna have no tulips and I would have been screwed. So I emailed the farmers down the street, and they helped me out where I could like buy tulips from them. I was able to have a great Mother's Day sale, and it all worked out. So reach out, see who's in your area, and try to build these relationships and connections with them. So my second last piece of advice is to look at the different business models or ways to sell that would work in your area. So I kind of had tunnel vision in terms of markets, and it's a lot of work. You're waking up, you're dedicating every weekend to being at markets. You're not always having, sellout days, so sales aren't guaranteed. Some days it's rainy, and the weather or like big holidays completely dictate how you're gonna do. So I would look into other things that you might like, as in like weddings. You can just sell bulk flowers. You could be a U-pick. You could reach out to florists and just grow for florists. There's so many things you could do. You could just sell like in different stores or do like a CSA subscription thing. Yeah, so all that to say, all of them are different amounts of work and different types of labor. None is super easy. You're still growing flowers and harvesting and whatnot. There's pros and cons to all of them. Like you pick, you have to have people on your property. Bulk flowers, I don't know, that one's probably probably the best in terms of, I don't know, like it's guaranteed. I don't know, somebody who sells bulk flowers would have to let me know what the downfall for that one is. I mean, you're not out at markets interacting with people, and that really is my favorite part. So yeah, just look at these things before you go into it and see what works best for you. So my last point would be just to draw your attention to the fact that the spring is the hardest, or it was for me as a first-year flower farmer. Most likely you don't have a bunch of perennials set up and planted for the sake of farming. I was lucky enough that we had a bunch, like peonies. We have some on our family farm, and a bunch of friends were super helpful. My in-laws had me like picking stuff out of their gardens, but it's hard. And fall, summer is a lot easier for annuals and like filler and stuff like that. Whereas spring, you're pretty barren. So while you're placing your seed orders, keep that in mind. Start looking, realistically, you should be looking at your garden not only for summer, like you should be taking it step by step, look season by season what you're gonna grow not just what's pretty, but like what could work as a filler and what could work as a focal flower and all those things. But just pay extra attention to spring. It is tricky. Now would be an awesome time if you have friends that are gardeners, maybe they have perennials, you could reach out and talk to them about stuff that you could use for your bouquets. And I think it's like 3 years once you plant a perennial. It takes like 3 years for them to be established enough that you could cut. So you want to start thinking about that now, but they can be a really big investment. So it is pretty tough. I would like start seeds for stuff like that, like perennials. Anyways, I will have a video on the top flowers that I would recommend for anyone starting out or just for anyone to grow. So definitely watch that. I hope it's helpful. You definitely have to plant tulips. Learn from my mistakes. It's a little late now, so hopefully you have planted them. But realistically, without Mother's Day, I would not have broken even. I would be very much, my profit would not have been what it is without Mother's Day. So I don't want to say without Mother's Day it's not worth it, but personally in my experience, it wouldn't have been worth it if I didn't have Mother's Day. So if you don't have tulip bulbs, now's a really great time to reach out to other farmers, see who does, see who's able to sell to you in bulk, because Mother's Day is huge. And then already, like, come June, you should already be thinking of the tulips you're going to be planting the next year. So I really hope that helps. Keep that in mind. Spring is tricky. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. If anybody's on the fence about getting into flower farming, I would absolutely recommend you do it. Realistically, no amount of planning is going to keep you from having issues, but like I said, plants are plants. Just get stuff in the soil. It will grow, people will come, people are super eager to buy flowers. And yeah, I hope this helped. Have a great day.